Hold on. Hey, welcome to everybody. This is a special report. I'm TruePowerIsMine. I am so happy and so blessed. Today's date is February the 8th, 2019, the year of our Lord. Today's guest is Morris Griffin, better known as Big Money Griff, the problem solver. Yeah, this man has so much energy. He has so much knowledge. The dude has a good heart. He is a progressive Democrat, hopefully a potential candidate for Congress in his district. Brother, you still there?
Yes, sir, Patrick. Happy Black History Month, man.
Yes, brother. Yes. Real quick, could you tell the listeners a little more about you? I just came off of another show, got a lot of stuff, but just introduce yourself just a little bit.
Well, thank you for getting me in, and thank you for having me to speak to your audience. And what Patrick was basically saying, audience, is that I'm Morris Griffin. I'm better known as Big Money Griff, strong community activist,
yes,
leader, and problem solver. And basically, all my life I've been serving not only the people, but trying to do things that would enhance our lives to where we would have better lives for the rest of our lives.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I just want to say, just for the record, the very first conversation I had with you, man, when we talked, Molly Bell, I called Molly, Sister Molly Bell, beautiful, beautiful soul, that woman. And she, went out of her way and connected me with Griff. And, this brother, had talked about some powerful things, no cookie cutter issues. We talked about everything. And I really didn't see where I was in any real disagreement with him at all. I even went so far in the conversation to say, are you sure you're not really a conservative? Because, you know how they have the spill. Oh, liberals don't make sense. Oh, liberals are this blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm just wanting to go for the record. We have a progressive on the line that makes absolute sense. Clarity. No double talk with this man. He's honest. He's sincere. And I'm happy to call him a brother. And I'm happy that he's on the show to share some of his Black history knowledge. And also to share what he did for every American citizen in this country today. We have a bit of gratitude. But that's only if you don't mind getting hit upside the head with mag light. Now, bro,
thank you for that, Patrick.
You're welcome, bro. I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Could you kind of share with us, the process of getting that changed, the mag light?
Well, I think because this is Black History Month, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I strongly urge that each and every one of you, at the sound of my voice, should go see Green Book, the movie Green Book. I strongly urge that each and every one of you, at the sound of my voice, should definitely go see Aretha Franklin in Amazing Grace. Talk about church in that theater. When you go see it, you're going to have church. You're going to see Aretha Franklin in a different light. And I want all of you to spread the word, what you heard, as to how we need to strategize to get our people to realize that in spite of all past years' adversity, and this was in 1971 here in California, in Watts, with James Cleveland. But more importantly, folks, Mick Jagger was in this movie, in the audience in 1971. I was in college at the time. Many of you that are listening at the sound of my voice wasn't even born in 1971. But more importantly, I want to strongly urge that you go see Kevin Hart with The Upside. You get a chance to see Aretha Franklin in a different light singing opera. That being said, Patrick, what is your question, bro?
All right, bro. So, Black history, what does it really mean to you? Where does it kind of start off with you?
Well, first and foremost, there's no question in my mind, Black history is 365 days of the year for me. But we have it in the shortest month of the year, February. And what it means to me is that we need to reflect on our ancestry
Mm-hmm.
and our present and future as to the direction in which we are to move, especially when we deal with Donald Trump and his entourage of people who want to be deaf, dumb, stupid, blind, and in denial of facts pertaining to the evidence. When we look at Colin Kaepernick, and he wants to flip the script and tell us that Colin was disrespecting the American flag. No, our ancestors fought in every single war
Yes.
for this country.
Yes.
In fact, I would go as far as to say to you all, and if there is some doubters, black people were the first best friends white folks ever had. And what do you mean by that, Big Money? I mean that when we were putting them cotton fields, tobacco fields, rice grain fields, sugarcane fields, we outnumbered the white man and the white woman and the white people, and we never killed them. We had some aboriginalists, of course, we had a few, but they were few and far between. For the most part, we were too scared to take their lives and take over. So what I'm saying to you is that here we are in the 21st century, and it's time for us to have what we deserve. You gave reparations to the Jews, you gave it to everybody else. And what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And they're no better than us, and they may not be as good. And what I mean by that is this. We won in a state in Chicago, in the state of Chicago, in a federal court of 3 judges, and they found that banks and lending institutions were found guilty of financially funding slavery when it was illegal according to the Constitution of the United States. Wow. And what that means is that we deserve that form of reparations. Now, it didn't have nothing to do with us being ostracized, hanged, burned at the stake, and all that. It didn't have nothing to do with that. It had to do with the fact that they were found guilty, and a lot of them admitted that they funded slavery when it was illegal in America. And many of the companies, or many of the banks and lending institutions, are non-existent today, but they were taken over by other companies that we are aware of. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and other banks, Rothschilds, you name it. I got a list of it, but I'm talking off the top of my head right now. But the bottom line is that we deserve some form of reparations. We got a guy out here, a black guy out here, not the David Horn that we have down south, or that is in Houston, not the David Horn, but there's another David Horn out here in California. And for years, he used to go around saying that we don't know what we want. And it was an insult, because I went to one of his classes. He's a professor out here, not the David Horn. We got 2 David Horns now, so don't get it twisted, and don't misinterpret what I'm insinuating here, because this David Horn out here in California goes around saying we don't know what we want. And we already had a meeting with those banking and lending institutions, Big Money. And I said, well, what did you say to them? They said, well, what do you want? And it was about 13 of us. And we said, we don't know what we want. I said, well, why did you call me? Oh, you know we wasn't going to call you, Big Money. Oh, you talk about an insult. So let me just say for the record, a lot of people want to say, well, they can't pay us enough. No, we can have yearly installments. You can give yearly installments to the Indians. By golly, you can give yearly installments to us. And what I'm asking for is $2,500 for anybody who was born before 1950 up until 1964, 65 can get $1,500 and deal with the people who are sick and afflicted laying up in the bed, don't know if they're alive or dead. We got to have an infrastructure in place to protect them. But more importantly, we need a cashier's check or a reparations check, just like the Indians get every single month for the rest of our lives. We're talking 400 years. Cut us a check. There's only 40 million of us in America. We need a check just like the Indians get.
Now, Big
And
Mike,
so there you go.
now how would you feel if they modeled that into universal income for all? Everybody gets it.
No. Everybody wasn't treated the way we're treated today.
Mm-hmm.
Up until today, everybody wasn't treated the same way we're treated. And so that's the reason why I would say no. We want to be treated with respect. Aretha Franklin said it best. RESPECT. Recognize. You better recognize who we are and what we have done for this country. We made this country what it is today, and yet now we're being disrespected. I got to tell you, I kind of feel like Rodney Dangerfield. No respect. I get no respect. We get no respect. And it's time for us to have our respect. And if there was ever a time to do it, I need those of you at the sound of my voice to spread the word what you heard.
Well, see, the thing is, though, when we're talking about reparations, the first thing the naysayer's going to say is big money. Well, who gets the check? The guy that just got off the boat in, let's say, 1980 versus the guy who has all of his people that he can trace back all the way to the Civil War. Now, who gets the check?
Good question. Thank you for that question, Patrick. I would have to say, and I need you all to spread the word what you heard. We're going to deal with DNA. It's 99.99% accurate. And so that's how we determine who gets the check, and that's how we determine who qualifies for the check. We know here in America that we are a recreated, re-evolutionized Black African American being. You can distinguish who we are physically and verbally.
Yes.
And so there's no question in my mind who we are. You know who you are. And if you don't know, we'll teach you. We'll show you. But you got to have a bona fide, qualified leader to help you see what you can't see or don't see.
And speak on that. The leadership, all right? Let's talk about Kamala Harris for one moment, all right? If you listen to the new voice of, the media, a lot of young voices, there's a lot of concern about her billing herself, one, as an African American, and two, as a champion of colored folks, given her history in California.
Well, let me just say, I had personal ties with Kamala Harris or contact with Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
I, several years ago, when she was an attorney general here in the state of California, I wrote her because, as Patrick may have mentioned to you or not mentioned to you, I've written a bill, not one bill, several bills, but this was one bill that was for the people, those of you at the sound of my voice. And the bill goes like this. And I wrote her, I said, Kamala, I would like to have a bill that redirects a percentage of Powerball, Super Lotto, Mega Lotto on a state-by-state ballot measure to not only recreate manufacturing and clean energy livable wage middle-class jobs, but also to be used as a supplemental income to existing jobs that make less than $15 and $20 an hour after you take state, federal, medical, dental, and union dues out.
There you go.
Kamala Harris wrote me back. She said, Morris Griffin, she said, not only do I like that, but I'm going to give you a directive as to what you can do to make that happen. So when I saw her sign saying Kamala Harris for the people, you showed me one attorney general that said, Big Money or Morris Griffin, I need you to give me $2,000 for Powerball, $2,000 for Mega Lotto, $2,000 for Super Lotto, and give me 25 signatures of people who agree with your proposal that you just advocated on paper, and add the codes or satisfy these three codes, and you have permission, sir, to circulate your petition in the state of California. Well, I don't need to tell you, folks, that was 3 years ago. I didn't do it. I got the money I could have got a loan, but I didn't, because I want to see whether or not we can legislate it as opposed to getting the signatures. It costs a great deal of money to get signatures in your state.
Yes, it does.
Because so goes California, so goes the nation. And if you have Powerball, Super Lotto, Mega Lotto in your state, then you can mirror this particular ballot measure that I just regurgitated to you. And so it goes with me saying that here is a woman who gave me a directive as to what I could do to make it happen for the people.
Yes.
And that's the key. And so I was very proud for her to write me back when I wrote her about YouTube.com, Zimmerman self-inflicted wounds, and Attorney General writing me a letter telling me how she appreciated my video that was only 7 minutes compared to the months that it took for them to find Zimmerman not guilty. And I was able to show that he was not only guilty, but that he was the culprit in this saga. And it disturbed me that none of the other people responded to the 7-minute video of Zimmerman, YouTube.com, Zimmerman self-inflicted. And
TV viewers.
You do?
The video can see
how did they respond? How did the people respond?
You know what, brother? Hold on 1 second. I think it's appropriate. I'm just going to play. It's only 7 minutes, guys. For all the new people who didn't catch the first show earlier, I just want to play the 7-minute video because I really believe it's just this important. It makes too much sense. If it's okay with you, Big Money, can I play this?
I don't have a problem with it. They can get a chance to see who, put a face to the place. You know what I'm saying? They get a chance to see me.
Activist, leader, and problem solver. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank the late, great Johnny Cochran, who's been very instrumental in my life when it comes to evaluating evidence. And those of you who participated in helping me with this fact-finding evidence. We, the people of California, asked Attorney General Eric Holder to consider prosecutorial misconduct charges against the Stanford, Florida prosecutors. We believe that George Zimmerman inflicted his injuries on his head with his own gun. And so we're here today to reveal to you how he could have done that, according to the evidence by Sarah Mara and according to the actual injuries. These lacerations that was on the back of George Zimmerman's head really reflect what we see when it comes to the pin and the notch to George Zimmerman's gun. We can clearly see that the notch matches this injury and the pin matches this injury. Clearly, that fits just like a puzzle. And so we're saying that when we look at the U on George Zimmerman's head, we can honestly and truthfully say, isn't it ironic that when we look at the shape of the gun in the back part, it actually matches this U here. Why do I say that? Because if George was to hit himself, boom, like that, isn't it ironic that that U also lines up with the notch? Can you see that? This is why we are in an uproar, nationally speaking, with Reverend Al Sharpton and other groups and organizations throughout the United States. Because if it doesn't fit, then you must acquit. And this is where it shows that the evidence fits the crime that we're alleging, that George Zimmerman actually assaulted himself when it comes to this manner. And so it goes with me saying that we're asking the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to actually look at the facts pertaining to the evidence. When we look at George Zimmerman's testimony, when George said that Trayvon was on top of him. And I will demonstrate for you what George said. George said that Trayvon was on top of him in this manner, and that Trayvon said, boom, 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 boom. And then George said that Trayvon put his hands over his mouth. And you know, and I know, with all that blood, how come there was no blood on Trayvon's hands? Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that you cannot get rid of the DNA. According to the forensic pathologist, there was no DNA on Trayvon's hands. But the testimony that George gave was that Trayvon put his hands over George's mouth. Now, I don't know about you, but DOJ, Department of Justice, according to George said that he was standing away from Trayvon and that Trayvon approached him and hit him. After he hit him, the blood should have came then. A fight occurred. He says that Trayvon ended up on top of him and proceeded to slam his head up against the cement sidewalk to the point that he was almost losing his conscience. After he shot Trayvon, he gets up, according to Sarah Mora. She says that she sees George walking back and forth, hitting himself on the back of his head, walking back and forth. Now, that's the testimony that she gave.
Regresó mientras hacía ese recorrido, tocaba su cabeza con una mano.
He walked towards the receptacles, then he walked back, and while he was doing this pacing, he would put his hands up on his head. Once.
Una mano, la
One
otra la
hand.
tenía en su cadera, ¿no?
And he had the other hand on his waist.
All right. Can you stand up for us and just place your hands how the man had his hands when he was walking around?
¿Tú puedes, por favor, entonces, ponerte de pie y poner las manos en la posición en que la tenía el hombre según iba caminando?
Así.
Like this.
All right. Just for the record, her right hand was on her head and her left hand was on her left hip.
In addition to that, George goes to work the very next day. And he refuses medical assistance. Now, if that is in fact true, and it is, how do you justify that? So we're asking the DOJ to bring charges against the Florida prosecutors for prosecutorial misconduct, for not bringing this information out in the closing arguments. We feel that the Florida prosecutors were grossly negligent in every way, shape, form, and fashion.
All right.
Oh boy, I get inspired just hearing that again, Patrick. Thank you for that, bro.
No, thank you for putting that together. And shame
Well,
on YouTube for burying that video like they do. Shame on
Okay. Now, I would hope that as we begin to strategize to get our people to realize that when Kamala comes through their neck of the woods and you begin to take selfie pictures with her, say to her, I saw that Zimmerman self-inflicted video that was 7 minutes long that I heard that you commented to, Kamala. Is there any way that we can charge the DOJ? Is there any way that we can get the Attorney General to bring charges because of the negligence in that particular case on Zimmerman? Or I heard that you supported that lottery. We would love to have that here because, as you know, we as Democrats got to have a way in which to prove how we're going to pay for universal health care for everybody. Where's the money going to come from? We hear the Latino sister in New York, who is the new millennial, say that she wants to go after the 9 corporations and businesses that are polluting the air in the environment and tax them for what they are doing in terms of polluting the water. But I'm saying that's fine. But in addition to that, we need to do for ourselves so we can have an infrastructure for the rest of our life. Because you know and I know they can keep that kind of case in the courts forever.
Oh, yeah.
Before you make them pay, before you make those 9 richest companies in the world to pay up for polluting when it has been allowed and legal for them to do. So now you got to prove that it was not only wrong, but at the same time they need to be fined for doing that. Good luck in terms of trying to make them give you some money for that reason.
But the problem
And
with that,
I don't have a problem with her. You know, she's good. She's a good millennial. But we've got to be realistic.
but
And the sky won't be the limit.
her plan's not realistic. Her plan's not realistic because if you sue those companies, they're just going to pass that lawsuit cost onto their consumers, which typically, if they're that big, is all of us. That's not the answer. And also, we got, you can't really put this. There's a lot of people in the rural areas. There's a lot of people outside of on the edge, and they're already just taxed to the max. We already just saw this past tax season who got the real tax break. Was it the working man or woman, or was it the 9 corporations?
The corporations.
All right.
And I'll be honest with you. I still haven't received my Social Security check, income tax return check stub yet. I got to go over here after I talk to you guys and get in line and make sure that they print me up another one so I can take it to my tax man so I can get my income tax return.
All right. Hey,
my Social Security income tax return. Because as you know, guys, I'm up in age. I'm 68, soon to be 69. I'm still balling though. I still like taking them to the home. So when Patrick brings me to his hometown, I hope y'all come on out and we can play some basketball.
I don't know about against you, bro, because I know you got some training in that. It's not like you're not going to pull shark me. Let's put some money on this.
Well, out here in California, we try to live a long time and we try to eat right and we got the sunshine. And I know a lot of y'all be jealous and envious of us for having all this sunshine. But I can't let this sunshine go. I get out there and do what I do. You know what I'm saying? I do what I do.
I want to ask you this. When Brother Dick Gregory has said, traditionally speaking, in the black community, the 2 strongest forces have been the black women and the black church. In your life, have you seen that statement to be true or relevant?
Yes, that statement is profound, and it has been proven today. There's no question that the churches will go see Amazing Grace at our movie theaters because of when you go, hopefully you will go, that's listening to the sound of my voice, you will see how the Spirit moved people in 1971 that day. It was that profound. It brought tears to your eyes. I'm telling you guys, you'll be messing with your blessing if you don't go see that movie. Now you're too limited, don't you hear me?
I don't know. My audience, I don't know. They don't. They won't. They'll do what they do. You know, that's all I can say. They will do what they do. But I know that they appreciate.
Stop messing with your blessing. Stop messing with your blessing. That's your blessing right there.
You know.
All right, what you got? What you got, Pat?
Now, let's talk about the issue of Kamala Harris not being black. Or not being perceived as being black, okay? That's been talked about quite a bit. What's your opinion on that?
Well, her sister is black. Her sister is more colored than, and I understand Kamala married a white boy, but she used to mess with a brother named Willie Brown, 25, 30 years ago. She's kind of like a Tiger Woods. Tiger doesn't want to claim that he's black, but we know he's black.
But Tiger Woods doesn't potentially create public policy, though. See, this is what a lot of white people are understanding. All right, there's one thing to compare her to civilians, but she's in a position to affect public policies. People want to see some sort of history where she did that. And the only history we're getting, and this is appropriate to Black History Month, is the history where she didn't help black guys out with the 3-strike laws in California. The history where, you know, I guess you can't throw that up in the air, whoever she marries or whatever. So, you know, that's the history to all of that. But my point is, with your personal relationship, haven't you seen some good points? Don't you got some positive things? Because I'm tired of hearing, I'm going to be honest, I'm tired of hearing the negative things. I want to hear something positive.
Okay, well, those are things that a lot of people don't know about, but now that you are made aware of, you're in a position to deal with when it comes time to. But I think it's important to mention to you that we would be better off to have her than not have her to have anybody else. Now, I do believe that it'll be Joe Biden. Joe Biden will probably put his hat in the ring next week or so. And I think Joe Biden will end up being our president. And I think Kamala Harris will be our vice president because she can get the black vote. And so can Joe. Joe can get the white vote as well as the black vote.
I'm telling you, Big Daddy, she will not be able to get the black vote. She will not. I'm telling you, I'm looking on the internet. I'm trolling this shit like a crazed man. If you listen to a lot of the young people are not listening to CNN. I'm telling you, brother, they're not listening to that. They're listening to these young cats out here, you know, that are putting in work, the Black Authority, and a lot of these cats. And these guys are very harsh on her. They're very, I mean, they're
what are they saying? They're saying that she's not black?
Well, they're saying not only she's not black, but she's basically like a white supremacist in a half melanated body. Not only does she not support you, but she actually engaged in genociding you out of this reality. In other words, she's a part of the mission to put all of us down in the ground. The final solution.
Okay, all right. Well, it's early yet. We got plenty of time before 2020. And all I can tell those of you at the sound of my voice, sit back and wait till I send her this letter, what I just informed you of, to refresh her memory as to what she done for the people.
Yes.
And let's see whether or not she mentions it.
Yes.
As she continues to go around the country as to her being shot, the $64,000 question, what have you done to deserve the vote of the black people, let alone the American people? Yes. And if she mentions anything about how she directed me to do what I shared with you in terms of Powerball, Super Lotto, Mega Lotto, if she has said that she really enjoyed the YouTube.com piece with Zimmerman self-inflicted, and that she would consider looking at taking district attorneys back to court or trying them for failing to do their judiciary duties. I think we're in the ballpark of listening to what is it going to take for us to be able to pay for universal health care. It's one thing to have people talk negative about you, but what is your solution?
Exactly.
Like we're sitting up here negatively talking about somebody, but I want to hear what is your solution. I got a girl out here, there's a girl out here and a guy out here. And all they want to do is talk about it, but they don't want to be about it.
Right.
So I confronted him. I confronted the pastor, and I will honestly tell you, it was a pastor for the homeless. I said, so tell me, pastor, you went down to the border. What did you find? He says, well, I saw there was a great deal of people from various countries there, and we even had some there from Haiti. And I said, so what are you guys going to do? Well, we're just going to push back. We're just going to push back. I said, well, hold up, brother. I said, now, how do you push back? I mean, the man is talking about a wall, and we're talking about how do we prevent the people from coming to America? You know, first of all, we want to figure out how to stop this caravan of people coming to America. What do you say, brother? Well, I said, well, hold up, man. I said, so if I was to say to you, we're in 190 different countries in the world. We got American troops in 190 different countries.
Wow.
Why can't we put some of those troops in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador? And by the way, Venezuela is begging for American troops to come there. Well, I disagree with that, brother. I disagree with that. I said, so what do you disagree about? Well, you know, the troops have always been in line with the country. And I said, but now hold up. Can't we hold them accountable? If we see the caravan of people coming from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, still, when the American troops are there, it is fair to say that those troops have been brought into that country and is part of the problem instead of the solution. And can't we take them out of that country and say we gotta fix this problem? I said, so what do you want to stop this caravan of people coming? Now, what do you think about charging the companies in America, employers, a fine or jail time once they got here? If we tell them, if you hire them, we're going to give you a fine or jail time. What are your feelings about that? And then all of a sudden, a big smell came off of his body. You know, it was an odor that just came off of his body where he got uncomfortable, and he just started walking away. I ran him away from him. And that's what happens, Patrick. That's what happens. And that's the story of my life. I give him something I give him an alternative that is realistic, that is perceivable and conceivable, and they still want to be in denial. And I have a problem with that, brother. I got a problem with that. I look at people today, and I say to them, we're talking about giving guns to the teachers. In the rural areas, you brought that particular point out to me, Patrick, and I'm grateful for that. They ain't doing nothing in our cities. They're doing it out in the rural areas. These white boys is going on here in these rural areas and shooting up these white kids.
Yes.
Why can't we have deadbolt locks on all classroom and courtroom metal doors in these rural areas as well as our city areas, saying that once we find out that they're in our school going woke on us because they're smoking too much dope and drinking too many 8-ball or what have you, and gone loony on us. Why can't we have deadbolt locks on all classroom and courtroom metal doors to protect our children from being blasted away by the next copycat assassin? Well, what, man? Aren't you going to be part of the solution instead of the problem?
Yes.
You're supposed to be a pastor. You're supposed to be trying to help us. Where does your foot lie in the sand, brother?
Brother,
you got dreadlocks. You got dreadlocks on, man. You got your dreadlocks. Where did your foot stand in the sand? He walked away, Pat. He walked away. So I left him alone, man. I left him alone. Because I know if I had said anymore, I would have went off on him. I would have got too loud. And I don't want to get too loud because I believe in staying civil. I got to be a candidate for the 44th Congressional District. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I'm going to need some donations when I put my website up and show you, you know, what I just told you, but show you how we need to move forward because it's all about the visualization for the substantiation and verification of the dissemination of the information.
No.
And in order for me to do what I do, I want to show you.
Right.
It's one thing to talk about it, but it's nothing to be about it. So that's what I want to do.
You know, after you win and you become a congressman, I hope that before the nation joke media gets to you, you can come back on the show. We would chop it up. We would be talking to big money congressmen, and we can get some, because then we would actually have a voice. The listeners, everybody, you know, we got a few people in the chat room here that we can actually voice our concerns directly. We don't got to go to your aid. You know, no. We'll go right to big money because he's the man of the people. He's a man that really cares. You know, and I want to speak on something too, so everybody can get this shit on the record. And this is extremely important because it's been really stressful time. Do you believe, Big Money, that there is a spiritual problem happening in our collective society in the United States of America?
Yes, sir.
And what is the solution? What do you think could be the solution to ease this powder keg that's about ready to blow up on us?
Well, for years, and I want to emphasize for years, the churches have been bamboozled by the contract for what we call public
assistance,
funding, nonprofit. That's the word I was looking for. For years, churches have been part of a nonprofit. They could tell the crowd, or they could tell the people in their church, their congregation, that they could vote, but you could not tell them who to vote for.
Right.
And it kind of like put a muzzle on their mouths. And if they were to open their mouths and there was a plant in the audience, they could lose their non-profit. And that would mean that they would have to pay taxes. Churches in America do not pay taxes.
Right.
So all the money that they receive from their congregation or people who are in their church, the pastor gets to keep.
That's how you get
the pastor has learned to keep his mouth shut.
And work with
that muzzle has been slightly removed, but at the same time, we're still dealing with the vestiges of Willie Lynch. And Willie Lynch is 1712. And here we are 300 years after, plus 3 or 4 years after, and we're still feeling the vestiges of Willie Lynch.
Right.
So I say that to say this, Patrick. The answer to your question is yes, and that is the reason why.
Now, can the answer also include American civics being taught in a high school so that young people fully understand that a lot of these social problems are solved by the correct implementation of the U.S. Constitution?
I don't have a problem with that.
There it is. We got to get back to this notion that in the document, now we all can agree when it was first drawn up, especially for us colored folks, we were not included for the most part.
Right, we're 3/5 of a man.
Right. But the struggles the brothers and sisters did during the 50s and 60s and some before then actually, has ensured that it was what? It was amended. So now it is on track, not totally, because we still have the 13th Amendment that still allows for slavery as a punishment for criminal activity. So there is no by chance that all this criminal music, all the criminal glorification of movies, all the criminal glorification like in print books and all that, that's by design to get people focused on doing crime so they can what? Become a slave in real. And not just psychologically, but physically. Because if you're locked up, they can tell you to get out of the bunk and go and do this. If you don't, well, heaven helps you, you know. So the reality is we got to get good men and women into position of power. You know, that's why I implore everyone in California, you know, Google Big Money Griff, see what the brother's about, get behind him on a grassroots level. You know, when it's time to campaign, seriously, man, jump on your bike, your motorcycle, you're jumping your car, jump in whatever, get out, go knocking on door to door on his behalf so that he can prepare for speeches and do what he needs to do so that he can win the election. If it gets
Thank you, Patrick, for that. Thank you for that. I went out to Norwalk yesterday to see when is registration, and I found out registration isn't until September 12th. 2019, and I Googled my name, Morris Griffin for Congress.com, and it looks like it's available.
Yes.
So that's what it would be. It wouldn't be big money because some people they say, well, why you call yourself big money? I said, because that's the name that they gave me when I played basketball, and it just tumbled over into the workforce. And then I became a community activist, and it's a money move shot. What can I say?
If it fits, you ain't gonna quit. You know?
And that's no bullshit. You're gonna have somebody. I'm telling you, man.
See, this is what I'm talking. You're a real human being. You know, you're a real man. You know, one of the things that we talked about in that first conversation. Please tell the audience, what's your opinion on bullying? What's your opinion on bullying?
My opinion on bullying is very simple. Here is a person who wants to show control. When you look at American life, or what that shows the tigers and giraffes and American Geographic.
Yes.
And you have these animals that are going across the river or cross the stream, and you got alligators in that water. And there's some leaders that send the flock through to see if the alligators is going to get them, and some of them do. But there's some in the jungle who wait for the tigers and the lion to get the weakest of the link in the flock, and they go after that one. Those are the bullies. They get the one that they know they can whip. They get the one that they know they can get beat down. So what I'm saying to you guys is that we need to protect those that are weak because of their upbringing, because they aren't conditioned mentally and physically to be able to move forward in a way that we know we can save them. That's why we deal with crippled people. We have old people across the street.
Yes.
Those are the weak. Those are the ones. Now, is that socialism? Is that when we get candy on at Halloween, is that socialism? Is there something wrong with that socialism? When people come over to your house and mama wants to fix them a plate of food, is that socialism? So what we have to do, guys, is we've got to define the line as to where we stand, where our foot stands in the grass or stands in the sand, for what is socialism, what is bullying,
Yes.
and what we're not going to tolerate. And we've got to be able to define that. And we're at a time now in our life where we don't have to play on no one's mental capacity. We can just say what it is and say what we mean and mean what we say.
Yes. That's what we need more of. We had too much devil talk. I'll help you, and then I get in the office and I just help myself to you. No, we don't need no more of that. Mm-mm.
No. It is what it is, man. I'm at a point in my life where I'll be on the basketball court. Now, here I am, 68 years old, and this youngster wants to fight me because he can't stop me.
Mm.
So he tried to bully me. So I calmly said to him, whenever you feel froggy, leap. That's all I'm going to say, bro.
Mm.
Whenever you feel froggy, just leap. And we can box. Because, I'm from North New Jersey. I was raised in Inglewood, New Jersey, but I'm an LA brother now.
Now, I know we're running short on time here, but real quick before we leave, you understand, what's going on with the government. We could potentially go into a shutdown on the 15th of this month, and a state of emergency would be issued at that point in time. To you, and you live in California, how important is the wall, if it's important to you at all?
The wall is important to me, but at the same time, I don't give a rat's ass about the wall. What I care about is what I've already shared with you. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You can stop the caravan of people by putting troops in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador and telling them that if you continue to rape and kill your people, drug warlords, that Donald Trump has a problem with, then we're going to take you out. And let me just say, Donald Trump just broke off all the troops in America, gave them a higher rate. So they should be eager to want to satisfy that objective, since the wall is so important for our national protection.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. That's the thing. I've been, in this country for the past 47 years. And, up until recent point in time, and I say recent point in time, meaning the past, say, 2 years, there really wasn't a major discussion about a wall that I could recall.
Well, let me just say, if we put a fine or jail time on the employees who hire them, there won't be no reason for them to come to America.
There it is. Right. See, this is why I love talking to this man. You see that? See how we get talking about solutions, not just the problem. We're talking about solutions, and I agree. You have to take away the economic incentives and reinforce the homeland of their homeland security. I mean, I don't begrudge nobody from, because I have beautiful children and a wife. I wouldn't want no one to accost them and possibly kill them or rape them. But that's the situation these immigrants are coming from, you see. And that's why I don't begrudge them. But on the same token, I don't begrudge any citizen that understands, look, I don't care how nice you may be, I don't care how clean you may look. If someone knows in their mind that you are poor, you are broke, and you come around their house, they already know that you're there to try to steal something, and they're not having it. Now, I know you can say, no, they're just trying to pay. Listen, you got to understand how people really think. This is beyond how you feel. This is how people perceive you. And that's been our collective problem, I think, is that sometimes we get so caught off into our individual selves, we forget there's a greater spirit influence that really impacts each and every one of our lives. That's the image of our collective.
That's right. And in addition to what Patrick just shared with you guys, is that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that every one of these jobs, we as Black African Americans were doing.
Yes.
When we look in the homes of all the white folks who used to be the domestic homekeeper and taking care of the babies while they were out at work.
The black
It
woman.
was black people.
Yeah.
Who's there now? Mexicans.
Yes.
Who was cutting the lawns? Who was cutting the lawns
Black
of
men.
all the white people in America? Black people. Who are cutting the lawns today? Mexicans. And why did they do that? Because they did not want, they fear the color of our skin. Dr. Martin Luther King said it best in 68. Judge my people, my children, by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. And you know, and I know, that is the only reason why we are behind today, because of the color of our skin. Why is it that it's black men getting shot down? You see any white people getting shot down like black people?
I mean,
And
they are, but
if you was to say, well, big money, you know, we got black on black crime, that's
get out
even
with
worse
that.
than that. And I said, well, I agree with you. But these are damaged black men. They are mentally damaged. They have been deprived of their upbringing. They're on drugs. They're in gangs, and now they're selling drugs. And in order to sell drugs to the people of the brother who's got customers across the street, if I take that brother out, I get all his customers. And now it becomes a snowball effect. But if I get rid of him and I get rid of him, I got all this community here.
That's what it is. That's
You know, and who brought the drugs here? Who brought the drugs here? You know, and I know who was the head of the CIA when we honored him.
Yes.
George Bush, Ollie North. I just got a picture. I just got a shot. Ask Money Bell to send you a picture of me and Freeway Ricky Ross. Freeway Ricky Ross was the notorious brother here in California, in Los Angeles, that sold dope to everybody in Los Angeles when he used to come through Arkansas with Bill Clinton. Come on now. Come on, Patrick. I don't want to get. We gotta wrap this up, man.
Yeah,
We'll continue on another time, man. I gotta go, man.
Right.
You getting me riled up. Don't get me riled up, man.
Hey,
Come on, man.
that's what it's about, man. This show
Don't do
has
that
some
to
sort
me,
of
man.
heart. Hey, guys, I just want to thank Morris Griffin for being the guest on Special Report. As always, live your life without hate, envy, or greed, and let's try to be kinder to each other.
All right. God bless, guys. Till next time. Black History